Hey guys, so I was out here today and I had something really special I wanted to share with you. And I think I found my go-to full-time EDC knife now, and I'll share that with you right now. And then we'll get into some tests and I'll give kind of my impressions and what I like, what I don't like about it. And just you guys can see it in action and I'll give you my thoughts on it. So the knife I'm talking about is the Bark River Knife and Tool, Bark River Knives, whichever one you want to call it, Northstar EDC. This knife was formerly the mini Northstar, really hasn't changed much. However, they did change the steel in the knife. This is CPM 3V. Fantastic steel, one of my favorites out on the market right now. I believe it used to be an A2 and they changed it. This has the antique bone linen micarta handles or something like that. I kind of like the color of them. It looks almost like a caramel color, so I really like that. Now this knife and all other knives, we'll review a few others in this size and kind of design. This has really come to be my absolute favorite size of knife for many, many reasons. While it says EDC, yes, this is my EDC knife. However, for the past little bit, this has been the only knife that I've been carrying with me when I was out bushcrafting and things like that. I can get a full grip on it, just big enough to get my whole hand around it, and I do wear large to extra large gloves. Okay, this is a thinner handled knife, but I found for 90% of tasks, I don't need a big, thick, comfortable, super comfortable handle. This handle really just melts in your hand. I will say though, if you were going to do a couple hours worth of knife work, I would want a little bit more comfortable handle. However, for, like I said, 90% of things, this will work just fine. The blade, I like to be about my palm, just maybe a little bit under my palm length. To me, this is the ideal knife for what you'd want to use for everything out in the woods. Now, this isn't necessarily a survival knife. I'm not planning on building this humongous shelter or felling down these trees and doing all that stuff. No, it's not what I want. If I'm out and I want to practice survival or things like that, this is not the knife I want to take. This knife will be with me, but this is not the only tool I'm going to have. In my survival kit, the kit or the backpack I take with me, or I keep in my truck, something like that, will always have either a tomahawk, such as this one, or an axe, depending on the season. Right now, where we're in spring and summer, I don't need to process a bunch of wood or anything like that. I don't need long log fires and things of that nature, so I don't need these really big axes and things like that. So a simple tomahawk, just like this, to split up some firewood, is completely fine with me. You know, with tomahawk and a folding saw and this knife, that's my trio right there for a survival situation. However, on day hikes and things like that, pretty much just the saw and the knife. But for some small, quick hikes, and even some long distance hikes where I'm not practicing bushcraft or things like that, this is really the only thing that's coming with me. So that's really why I've kind of gravitated these knives. They're lightweight, they're handy, and I just don't need anything else. I used to use these 4, 5, 6-inch knives, but then I realized I was only using about 3.5 inches of that blade at any given time. So why carry the extra weight, all that stuff, when this fits so nice. Now this sheath that it comes with is a Bark River sheath. Really nice sheath. For what you get, it's nice and lightweight, and it's not very bulky, which I really like. You can carry it on your belt. I left it stock for this video. However, after this, I'm probably going to wrap it in some paracord and carry it around my neck, just because that's what I prefer to do. So here I have some wood that on a day hike and overnight, or even just a simple bushcrafting trip, would be what I would cut up. I found a dead standing. I took my saw, cut it up in, forearm length pieces, and that's how I like to go about it. These are, 2 knuckles long, something like that. Not a big deal. This is what I would collect for a small fire. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead here and I'm gonna process some of this down with a baton, my old trusty baton I have here. And this knife, even though only being a little over 3 inches, will baton just fine for all the tasks that I ask of it. And we'll even go ahead and start going by right down the middle, which I'd normally just kind of take some smaller chunks, but we'll go right down the middle. As you can tell, no no problems at all. I do honestly prefer a Scandi grind, but you do have to admit with this flat, it's almost like a full flat grind. It really does baton well. So as you can tell, I'm just going to quarter up some of this wood. Actually, that piece is so nice, I'm actually going to use that for a bow drill later. So I'll keep that out. So I'll do this so you can see it, just how when it hits this top edge, it really does start to split out. So right there, it's really just popping off up the top of this spine. And I'm just giving this some nice little taps. Controlled. You know, you don't need to be beating on this very hard, just some controlled taps are all that you need. And there's actually like no handle shock coming through, which is kind of the benefit of these full tang knives. So there's the knife. As you can tell, the edge is fantastic. This CPM 3V steel is one of my favorites. Like I said, it's very, very hard, much harder than like a A2 or an O1, which I kind of like that. I prefer you know, a little bit harder steel. I do not let this get dull where I need to take a rod to it. With like a 1095, after about 2 or 3 minutes of stropping from daily use, it's back to hair popping sharp. O1, A2 takes me about 5 minutes. With this, if I just sit down and I'm watching TV or YouTube video or something, just go ahead and strop for about 10 minutes on it. I can get it back to razor popping sharp, no problem. But I do prefer this because in a survival situation, you know, this steel's harder, so it's going to stay sharper longer. So that's more beneficial, I suppose. But it would be kind of harder to resharpen. But in a survival situation, you're not going to have ideal sharpening methods anyway. So, you know, just use a rock or something, I guess. I don't know. But, yeah, that's the Bark River. Now I'm going to do a little bit of carving, just to show you guys, even though this is not a Scandi grind, which is my preferred method for carving, it will carve absolutely just fine, no problems at all. Like I said, I can get a full grip on here, and I have large, extra large hands. Just how thin those shavings are. That's what you really want if you're going to try to ignite your shavings with a ferro rod. You want them as thin as possible. So there you guys go. That's really really nice edge on that. And like I said, this came very, very sharp, but I did strop it just because I find I can get a factory edge a little bit sharper. Can also take some deeper shavings. As for the next test I like to do, I like to test the spine on knives. I believe every knife that you carry, everyday carry, or in the woods, should have a sharp enough spine to process down materials and ignite those materials with a ferro rod, because ferro rod is pretty much the most bomb-proof way to carry a method of starting fire. It can get wet, it can get cold, and it'll still work. So I have some really nice golden fat wood here, and we'll scrape it down and light it up, and we shall see just how well the spine works. the spine did absolutely just fine, no issues at all. And where this steel's pretty hard, that spine will stay sharp for a good long while, I suspect. Alright, so now we have our ferro rod here. I'm just going to plant it into the bottom of our material. Give it a couple of slow strikes. There you go. Some people go crazy and do that, which works, I suppose. I just prefer the controlled strikes. I feel like I don't wear out my ferro rod as fast. And that material's going, and then we can take our nice thin little feather stick that we made, and there you go. So with our knife, our ferro rod, and natural materials, we've created flame, and I could get a fire going no problem now with just carrying those two little things. So sometimes when I'm out on a day hike, this is all that really goes with me. Don't even carry a lighter or anything. Okay, so for my absolute #1 test of a knife, I'm going to carry it, use it, all that, is can it carve a tent stake comfortably? That is the main point of a knife, because it really, not the tent stake, but the fact that it can carve, because that's what a knife like this is meant to do, is to do some small carving. So I have this quartered up piece of wood here, and I'm going to break it down one more time. That worked out okay. I'm going to come in up here at the top, about an inch down. I'm actually going to cross baton into it. And these Bark River knives bite so deep with that thin grind on that cross baton. I really do enjoy that. I'm going to come back here, my thumb, start carving on this notch. So there's our notch. I'm just going to rip the bark off of here. Knife works really well for peeling bark as well. Okay, so now I have this right here. Now I'm going to go ahead and do my chest lever grip on camera. It might not work as well. Hammer grip. Okay, so we've got it down pretty good. Now up here, this is one thing I see a lot of people overlook. This squared off edge up here, where we sawed up this piece of wood. I like to come in with my knife, just kind of chamfer or bevel off this just a little bit. So when I'm driving that tent stake in with my knife, or with a baton, I'm sorry, with a baton, I won't split it out and it won't mushroom out like a lot of things do if you pound on them. So that works absolutely perfectly. And that carves a very, very nice tent stake very, very comfortably. So I just want to show you guys the knife and the sheath again. This is a Bark River sheath. I don't know if you can pick that up or not. Looks a lot like the old sharpshooter sheath they used, but works just fine. It seems like a pretty decent quality leather, and the knife really does fit in very nice and tight. And I found if these get loose over time, just put a little water on them and it'll kind of shrink down, get nice and tight again. Or if worse comes to worse, just wrap some paracord around it really tight and use it as a neck sheath, and it won't come out a bit. So on to the next test. So guys, yeah, that's the Bark River Northstar EDC. I've had a bunch of Bark River knives over the years, different models, and I get them and I trade them out and do all that stuff. But this one really, through my testing and having one and everything, really good knife. Probably my favorite Bark River. model. I'm honestly surprised with these little Bark River knives and other companies. I just like Bark River. I had an issue with one of their knives one time, sent it back. They sent me a brand new knife. The lady that called me, apologized for it being messed up, all that stuff. Super great company. And so that's the reason that was the first one I had too. The first Bark River I ever bought, I had a problem with it. So it kind of put me off of them for a minute, but then she sent that one back. It was brand new and I never had a problem out of that one, and I've owned probably a dozen since then, different models off and on. So that's really what I'm going to carry with me if I had to go for extended period of time, to be one of these for that steel. And I really enjoy it. So thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Go check this out. I bought it off of Knife Ship Free. That's pretty much where I buy all of them at, because they ship for free and they normally have pretty good prices, and they have a ton of selection. That's one thing about Bark River that I like as well, is you don't have to get this handle material. There's not like 2 colors and that you're stuck. Or I've seen some companies have like 2 colors and then this like exotic material that costs like 4 times what the knife normally would. You can get all kinds of different colors of canvas and linen micarta. You can get different types of wood, bone, pretty much anything you want, and the prices reflect that. Pretty much, your base canvas models like this are probably going to be your cheapest. I think the black canvas usually are their cheapest, and I think on this knife then it goes up, then the green's the next most expensive, and blah 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 blah. This one I paid, I think the retail on the site's under $190. Don't hold me to it, but it was like $187 I think is what I paid at the time. But I had a coupon, so I got it like $10 off from previous purchases. They're really cool about that too. You get rewards if you shop online there. I'll put a link actually in the description to this knife when I bought it. I may have bought the last one though in this color, but I'll just put a link to the whole selection of these in different handle materials. But yeah, if you buy a bunch of stuff off of there, you get rewards points and then you can turn it into store credit. So I got $10 off of this knife, so I was super happy about that. And yeah, so Bark River, Knife Ship Free. So that's the Bark River Northstar EDC. It's my new EDC.